August 19, 1745. A deceptively quiet morning. On the plains outside Kars, two great empires stand face to face. On one side, the Ottoman Empire, the oldest and most feared military power in the world, ruling over 3 continents. On the other side, an army built entirely on the vision of one man, a leader who wasn't born a prince, but a former bandit who crowned himself Shah of Iran. His name was Nader Shah. Over the next 10 days, what unfolds will become the worst defeat in Ottoman military history. A battle in which an entire army will, quite literally, be wiped off the map. And yet, you've probably never even heard its name. This is the Battle of Kars, 1745. And this is the story of a man who built an empire with his own hands, and then destroyed it with those same hands. If you love military history, real strategy, and stories of dramatic reversal, stick around till the end. Because what's coming is more dramatic than any Hollywood script. Let's rewind a little. To understand this battle, we need to understand who Nader Shah was, and how he got here. In the early 1700s, Iran, then under the Safavid Empire, stood on the brink of collapse. The Safavid dynasty, which had ruled Iran for 2 centuries, was now in decline. Corruption from within, Afghan and Ottoman invasions from without, Iran was falling apart piece by piece. In this chaos, a boy was born into a small tribe in Khorasan, Nader Shah. His life was nothing like a royal upbringing. His father died when he was young, and it's said that he and his mother were enslaved for a period of time. This wasn't the story of a king, it was the story of a survivor. But there was something different about Nader. He was a natural-born warrior. He started with small raids within his tribe, then worked with local warlords, and soon built his own private army. When Afghan invaders seized Isfahan, the Safavid capital, Nader saw his opportunity. He began fighting on behalf of Safavid Shah Tahmasp II, drove out the Afghans, and then fought the Ottomans as well, who had seized Iran's western territories. With every victory, his power and reputation grew. In 1736, Nader did what every ambitious general dreams of but few ever achieve. He crowned himself Shah of Iran, ended the Safavid dynasty, and founded the Afsharid dynasty. But Nader Shah didn't stop there. He turned his eyes east. In 1739, he invaded the Mughal Empire, and reached all the way to Delhi. From there, he looted the Peacock Throne and the world-famous Kohinoor diamond. After that, he brought the Khanates of Central Asia under his control too. By this point, Nader Shah had become one of the most powerful and feared conquerors in the world. He earned the title, Sword of Persia, and some called him the Napoleon of Asia, or the Second Alexander. But his oldest, most persistent enemy was still the same one he'd faced at the start of his career. The Ottoman Empire. The rivalry between the Ottoman and Iranian empires went back centuries. The religious divide, Ottomans were Sunni, while the Safavids and now the Afsharids were Shia. Poured fuel on the fire. But the real issue wasn't religion alone. It was control over the contested borders of the Caucasus, Iraq, and Mesopotamia. After war broke out in the 1730s, both empires repeatedly gained and lost territory. Nader Shah laid siege to Baghdad, attacked Mosul, and ran numerous campaigns in the Caucasus. In 1743, the war flared up again when Nader Shah devised a highly ambitious, and highly controversial, plan. He wanted to reconcile Sunni and Shia Islam through a proposed fifth school of thought, the Jafari Madhab, in order to ease sectarian tension between the two empires. He even convened a council at Najaf, attended by both Sunni and Shia scholars. But the plan failed. The sectarian divides ran too deep, and the Ottomans viewed the proposal as a religious or political threat. Negotiations collapsed, and the war resumed. In 1743, Nader besieged Mosul and Kirkuk, but couldn't secure a decisive victory. His supply lines now stretched over 1,000 kilometers from his base at Naderabad, a serious logistical strain. In December 1743, a ceasefire was brokered with help from Baghdad's governor, Ahmad Pasha. Prisoners were exchanged, but no territory changed hands. Meanwhile, Nader Shah faced problems on the home front. His heavy taxation, needed to fund the war, estimated at 20 million shumans a year, had sparked tribal uprisings in Fars and Khorasan. He had to divert a large portion of his army eastward to crush this unrest, which delayed the full resumption of the war until 1744. Race. Even if this works, we disable their fleet. Then what? They have backup systems. Emergency power. They'll be back online within hours. 6 hours, based on their own maintenance transmission logs. So we get 6 hours. And then they fire on us anyway, but now they're angry. No. We get 6 hours in which they are completely vulnerable, and we are not. 6 hours in which the conversation changes. 6 hours in which we stop being grade 4 and start being something they've never encountered before. We're not trying to win a war, Admiral. We're trying to win the right to be taken seriously. Admiral Juan stared at her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Get me those 6 hours. Reyes opened a broadcast channel to the Vorkai fleet. She sat alone at the transmission desk, no generals behind her. No show of force. Just her. Calm. Commander Drakvel. This is Commander Asha Reyes of the United Earth Defense Council. We received your transmission. Drakvel appeared on the screen. He looked mildly surprised she was alone. You respond quickly. Most species take longer to coordinate their governments. Usually they spend the first 30 hours arguing. We argued. We just argued faster than you expected. A flicker of something crossed Drakvel's face. Not quite amusement. Interest. And your answer? Our answer is that we require more time. A decision of this magnitude, affecting 8 billion people across 200 nations, cannot be made by one person in one room. Our systems of governance require consensus. You are stalling. I'm governing. Commander, I've studied your history. Before the Vorkai accepted the founding compact of your own empire, the Concord of 7, your Supreme Council requested 40 hours of deliberation. A decision affecting 7 billion of your own people. We are asking for 30 additional hours to make a decision affecting 8 billion of ours. I'd call that relatively efficient. A longer pause. Drakvel leaned back slightly in his command chair. You have read our history. We've been listening to your transmissions for 19 years. We try to understand people before we meet them. Drakvel studied her for a long moment. Something shifted in his expression. It was still not respect. But it was no longer contempt. 30 additional hours. Not 1 minute more. He closed the channel. 30 hours. She had bought 30 hours. Combined with the 31 already elapsed, that gave them 61 hours total. Holdfast needed 61 hours and 40 minutes. Reyes went back to Torres. I need 40 minutes. From what? From somewhere. I don't care where. Find me 40 minutes of calibration time. Torres stared at his data tablet. Ran calculations. Looked up. If we skip the safety buffer on nodes 12 through 17, we can cut 43 minutes off the calibration cycle. What's the risk? Those 6 nodes might burn out after the first pulse. The network would be non-functional afterward. We only need 1 pulse. Yeah, we do. For the next 60 hours. Earth went quiet in a way it never had before. No protests. No emergency summits broadcast on television. No political speeches. Just work. 8 billion people somehow, by instinct, understood that the time for words was over. Not every one of them knew about holdfast. Most didn't. But every one of them knew that somewhere, someone was working. And for now, that was enough. Coherence at 89%. All 20 nodes were synchronized. The screens showed energy levels climbing. 71%. 78%. 82%. 89%. Commander, this is real. This is actually real. How long until Dracvel's deadline? 11 minutes. Reyes picked up the transmission channel. Dracvel answered immediately, as if he had been waiting. Your time is nearly concluded, Commander Reyes. Has your planet reached a decision? We have. She looked directly into the transmission camera. Her expression was calm. Completely, unnervingly calm. The answer is no. 3 full seconds of silence on the alien bridge. Then cold fury. You were warned. He turned to his weapons officer. Target their population centers. Begin orbital. Commander. Something in her voice made him stop. Before you give that order, I want you to check your sensor readings. He glanced at his tactical officer, who was already staring at his screens with confusion. Commander, we're reading energy signatures. On the surface. Multiple sources. All across the planet. They're synchronizing. Identify the source. This moment was devastating for Ottoman morale. Watching their own artillery get destroyed before their eyes, combined with the feeling of being trapped, dwindling supplies, and now even their weapons failing them, pushed the Ottoman camp to the brink of mutiny. Deserters began streaming into the Persian camp, bringing word of just how much chaos had taken hold within the Ottoman ranks. Under cover of darkness, the Ottoman army made one final attempt. Quietly abandoning their fortifications and marching west, likely trying to escape. But the Persian army wasn't about to let them go. The Persian forces immediately sprang into action, pursuing the Ottomans. What followed wasn't really a battle anymore. It was systematic destruction. There's also a darker tactic recorded here, one that reflects Nader Shah's reputation for cruelty and psychological warfare. He had the heads of captured Ottoman commanders cut off and sent back to Kars along with wounded soldiers, purely to break the garrison's morale. The tactic was brutal, but it worked. For the people still inside Kars, it sent a clear message: there is no escape. The battle officially ran from August 9th to August 19th, 1745, a 10-day span in which the first day was decisive, and the rest was a continuous string of blockades, skirmishes, and pursuit. The final numbers were so staggering that estimates still vary today. Some sources put total Ottoman casualties anywhere between 28,000 and 50,000. The most widely accepted estimate is 12,000 killed 18,000 wounded, and 5,000 captured. That's a total of 35,000 Ottoman soldiers rendered hors de combat, unable to continue fighting. And the Persian side? They suffered 8,000 casualties on the first day alone, a testament to how fierce that initial fighting was. But after that, Persian casualties slowed to almost nothing, while Ottoman losses kept climbing. There's also a strikingly humane moment recorded in history. Nader Shah allowed the wounded Ottoman soldiers he'd captured to return to Kars so they could receive treatment. By the standards of the time, this was an unusual act of mercy, from a man capable of immense cruelty. At the same time, near Mosul, Persian forces under the command of Nader's son, Nasrallah Mirza, defeated the Second Ottoman Army. This twin defeat, at both Kars and Mosul, completely exhausted the Ottoman Empire's military capacity. The consequences of the Battle of Kars were far-reaching. Istanbul no longer had any viable military option left. They were forced into negotiations, and from a position of serious weakness. This battle was the last major engagement of the Ottoman-Iranian War. The war's eventual outcome was that both empires finally entered peace negotiations, bringing an end to the Ottoman-Persian War of 1743 to 1746. Interestingly, despite the devastating military outcome, no major territorial changes were recorded. In other words, after all that bloodshed, the borders stayed roughly the same as before. But the real tragedy starts here. The Battle of Kars was Nader Shah's last great military triumph. It was the peak of his career, a man who rose from being a tribal bandit to crushing the world's most powerful empire. But not long after, Nader Shah met his own end, not at the hands of an enemy, but at the hands of his own officers. As he aged, Nader grew increasingly paranoid. He had his own son, Reza Zooiii Mirza, blinded, suspecting him of plotting to assassinate him. This had happened earlier, during his Dagestan campaigns. After that, his cruelty and oppressive taxation policies turned him into a tyrant in the eyes of his own people. In 1747, just 2 years after his victory at Kars, Nader Shah was assassinated by his own officers in a conspiracy. The man who had brought the world's greatest empires to their knees, who had reached Delhi, who had won the Kohinoor, who had crushed the Ottoman Empire, met his end inside a dark tent, killed by the very men who served him. So why does this battle matter? And why has it been largely forgotten today? The first reason is geography. This battle took place in the Caucasus, a region that remains geopolitically complicated even today, and one that Western history books tend to cover far less. The second reason is timing. This battle happened well before the 7 Years' War or Napoleon's famous campaigns, during a period when European historiography documented the rest of the world's history far less thoroughly. The third reason is Nader Shah's complicated legacy. He was undeniably a military genius, but his cruelty and paranoia complicated how history remembers him. Even in Iran, his legacy is mixed. Some view him as a national hero who drove out foreign invaders, while others see him as a tyrant. But tactically speaking, the Battle of Kars is a masterclass, a combination of deception, patience, perfectly timed use of reserve forces, and psychological warfare. It shows how a numerically inferior force, with the right strategy and the right commander, can completely erase an army many times its size. The Battle of Kars, 1745. A battle that permanently weakened an empire, and stood as one great commander's final triumph, just before he was consumed by his own shadow. If you want the full story of Nader Shah, his rise, his conquest of India, and his tragic downfall, let me know in the comments, and I'll make a full video on it. If you enjoyed this video, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to hit the bell icon so you never miss another forgotten story from history.